Welcome to another episode of Retro Brothers. This week, I'm going to talk about me being absolutely act off with WhatsApp, moving to a Samsung phone from a lovely iPhone, and this Legends Ultimate. Hello and welcome to Retro Brothers.
My name's Dave.
My name's Andy. Retro Brothers.
Wetro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Mind
new
you,
show. Welcome to Wetro Brothers, where we will go for a swim whilst talking about tech.
We did go for a swim this morning,
go
though,
for a
so we
swim.
were wet if
Yeah.
we'd have been
That's
filming
why
a
my
few
hair's
hours
nice and
ago.
fluffy today. Yeah.
So, how's your week been?
My week's been very well. Yeah. We've been busy doing a few changes and tweaks to the show, and we know where we're going and we know what we want to do. So yeah, we've got that coming up. We've got a few bits and pieces to do.
We've got this.
We're very excited. I'll be honest with you. I can't get my words out today because I'm quite excited about this and having a look at this. This has been a long time coming. I think we even threatened to do it on the original pre-2
When it actually came
hiatus when it came out.
But to be honest, I'm not for. There might be occasions where we will. But there's plenty of other channels out there who, on the day of release or week of release, month of release, you will get into, extensive reviews. And to be honest, I looked at them before buying this. But this is more of our thoughts, my thoughts. So this is basically a review after owning it for 3 years now. So it's a long-term review.
So this isn't the usual new and shiny.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Glass top. Shiny screen, some amazing retro games. No, This is what's it like after 3 years.
Yeah, scuff marks. Is any scuff marks?
Yeah.
Well, it just needs a bit of a polish.
I'm sure we'll spill some coffee on later, so we'll find out.
I'm sure we will. So yeah, so more on what's my views on it? What's the cabinet like? We'll take you around the cabinet. They're going to do two things with it as well, because obviously there's certain things that you can do with it. So first, we're going to take you through the games that come with a cabinet, because a lot of people sort of dismiss the games that come with it. They are licensed. There's very much some very early Atari 2800 type games on it, even. But I'm then also going to talk about through CoinUpX. It's not part of the arcade cabinet, but the fact that you can expand it is a good thing, so we'll go through that as well. But this week I also want to talk about my issues I've had. I've just migrated. Some people might be happy I've moved from iPhone to Samsung Galaxy S24.
And to alleviate any sort of conversations people might want to have and arguments. We're not a Apple shop or an Android shop, really.
We're at any shop.
What works, basically, and for me, Android works for me. Sometimes iPhones work for you, sometimes
Android, yeah.
So, I've got an Android tablet, he's got an Apple tablet. So we're not going to go down that conversation. If you want to comment below, you can feel free, but don't do that. You're going to talk about your woes. And then we've got a few questions people have private messages, which I was quite surprised by. Questions, if you want to just post questions, please just pop it in below if you want. If you want it to be private and we can call them out. I did speak to the people to make sure we could do it. So we've got some questions. One of them I can kind of understand. The other one, we're probably quite excited about doing the other one. We'll talk about that later. So how's your week been, apart from me trying to get a few bits and pieces set up for the channel and just tweaking?
Well, that's the thing. So obviously from the last show, I moved from. In fact, I've still got it because it's not gone back yet, so I can't show you it. Otherwise, it'd have been better for me to go look. So I moved to an S24 Ultra. I have had Samsung Galaxy phones before, so I do swap. So the tariff that I have with O2 is switch up, which is great. You pay a little bit more for your tariff, but it allows you to basically swap your phone every 90 days.
I'm not sure if the US has got that, so
no,
give us a
if
shout
you
out.
Have, if any other country, but certainly in the UK, if you're on O2, keep trying to say O2 Telefonica, but it's not now, it's Virgin. But O2, it's a switch up, which is great for those that get bored of the phone easily. but it really is a pain. Even moving from iPhone to iPhone, and I'm sure iPhone users say no, it's easy, but even, and I can understand why, putting all your banking apps back on, you've got to go through all your security again and everything. And I understand why it does that, because it'd be dangerous to retain all that on a device. So even moving from iPhone to iPhone can be a pain. But moving the ecosystem, I think Apple has a really good ecosystem, and I think that's why people stay with Apple. But it's not flexible.
It's easy of use. You want something that just works and you're comfortable with. It works.
Yeah.
If you've got an Apple phone and a Mac, then the seamless way of being able to do things. I understand it, but if you want that customization,
you've got exactly. So, I mean, the good thing for me, I obviously working, being techie and working in IT, I do have other options. So I already, even though I had an iPhone, it wasn't I just didn't use iCloud. It was basically everything being backed up to Microsoft OneDrive. Everything was being backed up to Google Drive and Google Photos. So most people are bothered about the photos and everything. So that all gets backed up. However, my woes are with WhatsApp. Now, WhatsApp back in the day, and I'm sure unless somebody can tell me different, but WhatsApp used to do their own backups. So before Meta.
Now, I'm trying to think. I moved to the Pixel. Please don't buy a Pixel. We'll talk about that maybe one day. I moved to the Pixel, and getting my WhatsApp from one phone to another worked okay, as long as if you've done the encryption password where you have to use it to back it up. Kind of worked, but that's probably over a year now, maybe. So I'm not too sure.
I think before Meta, prior to Meta, I'm sure it used to be
it worked.
WhatsApp. It worked because I had moved from Apple. I'd moved to Android and back, iOS to Android and back again, and it did work. But they stopped doing that. I might be wrong, and I might so please, if I am, let me know. But moving, so on Apple with WhatsApp, you can only back up to iCloud. So the only option is to back up to iCloud. So then if you move to Android, getting access to iCloud
that might be why it worked last time, because it probably did back up to Drive. Maybe. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, they might have taken that away. I don't know. But
do you know what it is? It's one of those funny things where you do it and you don't think about it until it doesn't work.
Yeah. So I had to think about it, and it was, I just lose it and start again. But the thing is, on rightly or wrongly, I sometimes store stuff in WhatsApp that I've had messages of people, and it could have been, and for me, it's steps on side loading and configuring applications on devices, or it may be whatever. But I've got instructions that I just refer back to once a year or every 6 months or whatever. So they're always on WhatsApp. I don't download photos and videos on there. I sort of do a not to because it's like WhatsApp. People just send all sorts of rubbish and it just fills up. So I try not to do that. But I still had 250 meg that I wanted to get off my iPhone through iCloud. So the only way to do it, you have to go in a WhatsApp, and so you can do an export on obviously on the Apple device, but then it wants to know what device you then exporting it to. So it downloads it and keeps it on the phone.
Right.
And the only way to get it off is, and this almost took me back to the bloody 90s and early 2000s. I basically had to get a USB-C to USB-C cable from the iPhone into the Samsung Galaxy, and basically use a sync program on the Galaxy, which then asks you what you want to sync. So it scans the phone, asks you what you want to sync. You can select everything. I didn't, and I'll tell you why. I selected just WhatsApp and 250 meg, and it took 4 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours to sync it across, to get this across. And on the Android device, obviously it does give you options on where you want to back up to, whether it's Google Drive, whether it's OneDrive. So there's those options. But on Apple, it's iCloud or nothing. I just think I don't know. I don't know if that's something that
I sup-
Apple
I sup-
dictated by Apple, or
yeah.
because I'm sure Meta would, if they could, allow you to back up to.
One of those things in it where really you think about it. They don't back. I don't think they back up to their services. I think they definitely use your cloud
Yeah,
storage,
they do
and
now.
then
I
you
don't.
encrypt it.
Yeah.
And they may have done at one time, but I think the idea of WhatsApp is that they don't contain any. It's supposed to be end-to-end encryption, although it does go via their servers now, but it's end-to-end. So really,
Yeah.
in theory, whatever you get, they can't see. So I suppose it'd be quite hard for them to back up to their servers without then having your data.
So Meta, if you're listening, and I don't know, if, you can tell us if it's just a restriction on the App Store with Apple. If you can get an option in there, it'd be great for Google. Because I still use. And then this goes on to my next question, and I think we've mentioned this before. How much cloud storage has people got? So I was talking to you. So I've got Google, I've got OneDrive, I've got iCloud. I have to have iCloud because I've got a Mac and I use Mac for music, so I can't move away from iCloud. But do I just come away from all three and just have something?
Can you not install Google Drive?
You can,
You
yeah,
can.
yeah.
But is it not?
It don't integrate the same, so it's not the same integration. So again, it's the Apple ecosystem. You open it up, and it just looks like your file structure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, I had stuff all over. I had OwnCloud and all this, and you got OwnCloud is a self-hosted drive.
Yeah.
And
well, do you go back to having a
do you
sandbox,
go back to have a sandbox, or do you go back to like rolling your own? I think. It's a bizarre situation. I suppose it's quite hard to you think about it.
And for us, we'd probably find something, and I'm sure that there will be third party. And I've looked at third party storage out there; it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
And I'm whinging about now. I'm having to upgrade my 1 terabyte for Google, which for whatever it is a month, because it's a massive jump all of a sudden from 200 gig to your next one's 1 terabyte.
I think it's roughly about £7-8, so about $10 maybe a month.
Yes, about £80. Yeah, it's about £80. $89 a year.
So it is quite expensive.
But then if you're paying for that, then I'm paying for the Microsoft subscription. So then you could end up paying £200 a year.
Why have you got OneDrive?
So OneDrive, I've had. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff on OneDrive. Obviously, I had a Windows phone years ago, and I was purely Windows. So, and I also got Microsoft Family Office 365 for family. So I've got 5 people that can subscribe to it, but everyone gets 1 terabyte of storage. And as soon as you are given storage, you start using it. So I do have a lot of stuff in there. So what I'd like to do, and if anyone wants to comment on this, I'd probably, what has people done to migrate? What's the easiest way to migrate data from one cloud storage to another? Is it in the matter where you're having to bring it down locally and then upload it again? Probably. Or is there something that
there might be a third party, because there is I forget the name of it, but it used to be fantastic, really good service where it was email migration. So if you were coming from like an old Exchange server to 365, you wanted to migrate everything across. I know 365 had probably a migration, I think. But I used a third-party tool and basically gave it the connection details. It punched into one and then pushed it to another. So I mean, some of them have the tools integrated now, like Zoho and all the others. So there must be stuff out there that allows you to do it. But I think if you want your privacy, you're gonna have to download it and re-upload it to another.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to maybe you then get yourself a little bit of local storage here. Download everything.
Now the issue there is you can have the same that you could double up on your photos, because obviously, unless I suppose the file name you could. So you've got that. I mean, to be honest, I've looked through. So I went through and did a bit of tidy up and probably reduced my storage a little bit. And I looked through and thinking, why the hell am I keeping half of these photos? I mean, even the ones that I want to keep. And that's what I'd like to ask people: what do they do with their photos apart from that week that they take the photo, they'll stick it on social media? Well, then what happens? Do people do photo books, as some people do, or do they do absolutely nothing with them and just every now and again they'll look back when your phone or when Google tells you got a memory from a year ago, 5 years ago?
I think it's one of those things, and I think that might be for another day.
Yeah.
Where we talk about why do you keep all your photos? I mean, it's kind of an obvious question, but why keep all your photos?
Yeah.
And do you go through them and delete them? Do people spend the time in a regime and deleting them?
Well, in the
like
digital age now, you've got 10, some people, you're clicking out, so you've got 10 of the same photo, and you always pick the best one. But then you never, for whatever reason, you never get rid of the other 9. So,
I think might be one for another show, because then, what happens, we're not old enough to be carking it quite yet, but what happens when you pass and I pass? I would like to pass on my photos. Probably might want to have to procure certain photos. I'm not saying those sort of photos. I'm not talking about the pointing down one. I'm talking about just like some daft photos that kids might not be interested in, but you want to pass on to your kids, like stuff like that. So I think that's for another show. Talking about
so that
storage
with me, and that I probably, people were laughing at me actually when I was plugging the cables in, because I did it at the side of my desk and just left it running for 4 hours or whatever we were doing. But yeah, it was just comical. But yeah, that was my week.
That was your week, migrating from one platform to another. I suspect they're making it harder as well. Let's face it, they want you to
keep you on the ecosystem.
Yeah, you see all these videos about de-Googlifying your life, using DuckDuckGo for search engines and other ways, but just ease. It's just easy.
It is, yeah. And we're all, 90% of us are consumers. We're not all geeks. Not all.
Even we don't feel like we have time to do these sort of things.
Not anymore.
Days. I mean,
we don't want to.
No.
That's the thing now. So.
And I for another show, I want to talk about like local storage and servers and that sort of thing sometime, because I've kind of gone back to having a bit of local storage, but I'm not quite finished with that project yet, so that'll be for another one.
Yeah.
I will mention the name Unraid, so let that be in there for you. Just keep an eye out for that one, because that's quite an interesting journey I've had. Because I've not had any local server storage for a long time, probably over a decade. So I'm going to talk about that.
I've still got my sandbox, but yeah, we do need to talk about it.
We do. So, moving along. Ta-da!
Legends Ultimate. So I got this. Obviously, there's it's in the show notes. So there's one distributor in the UK that do this. So it's made by At Games, the same company that made the Sega Mega Drive, which I showed in the last episode. But it's got a nice click. But
nice macro switch.
Yeah. So I was I got made redundant in COVID, I think. So that and a little bit of money to sort of that. I always wanted an arcade machine, and there's always that debate: do you build your own, which we could talk about yours in another video, or do you just buy one? And I just thought, do you know what? It's not going to be much more just to buy this. So I picked this up for, I think it was £700 UK pounds.
800 and something dollars.
Well, it is, but it's not actually, because in the US it's actually cheaper.
Is it cheaper?
600. Yeah, it's about.
You probably go to Walmart and just pick one up, can't you?
Yeah. So you can actually. So Walmart in the US do. I've been doing really good deals with this. But I've had it for 3 years now. Now I've not used it as often lately, but it has had a lot of use. The kids have, the kids have been on it. They've bashed, not bashed it around, but obviously it's had abuses, under 10s and.
But in that the beauty of something like this, because if it's built right, it's got the decent micro switches, and it's got a glass panel, which we will show some nice close-ups. It's durable. These things were supposed to last a long time in arcades. Kids with a soda or pop hanging over, spilling it all over and everything else.
Of course, it's not quite. It's probably not arcade.
Not as arcade-proof, but it's a good quality
and
product.
It's full size as well, and I wanted a full size. So I looked at the other options was Arcade 1UP, which do a lot of cabinets. The only thing is with them, and I did get a chair actually, so I did actually get a chair to go with it, but that's actually an Arcade 1UP chair branded, but it's Pac-Man.
Waka Waka.
So it's quite good actually. Yeah. And Pac-Man didn't actually come with this, so I'll have to tell you how I got Pac-Man. But yeah, so I got that. So Arcade 1UP was, but the thing is, their cabinets are smaller, because I think they're more for going in people's homes.
Yeah.
Whereas This in my old house fit in the living room, and we had a fairly long living room. Where now it's upstairs, and it's sort of, well, if you could see the space, it is slightly squashed in a little bit. We're sat here, and we've had to move lots of things to get here. Normally, only one of us would be able to sit here, which is a shame because it's got a good 2-player setup. With the it really is good.
Yeah, what I like about it is everything's sort of, and again we will show you this. You've got all the controls that, apart from the trackball, which are completely duplicated. So you've got all your 6 keys there. You've got your joystick there. Obviously, player 1 and 2 is not going to be duplicated, and your start button. And then you've got the same there. I mean, I don't. What are these, like a shuttle or something? Like these?
Yeah.
So like for something like
yeah, you can sort of breakout Arkanoid type games. So yeah, it
Missile Command and that sort of thing.
Well, Missile Command you
can use the trackball.
Yeah, you've got the trackball. So there's a lot of games on here. So it comes. So it's licensed with, I think it's about 200. I might be wrong. 200 or 250 games. I should have looked it up. I've played them all, so I can't remember it. Now, it's just had an update. So as we switched it on this morning, the interface completely changed slightly, and I'm like, well, hang on, this is throwing me a little bit. So it's standalone, but you can also go online with this as well. So you can go on it. So it's got arcade nets. You can go on and download games, play games online. You can play 2-player games. Now, one thing it does do, and there's actually a pinball version of this, so virtual pinball, so the machine full size, it comes with 2 screens. I mean, that comes more with the pinball games, but you can play arcade games on it.
Right, that's
but with this, if you look to your right, there's some holes.
Oh
You
paddles.
can actually put the paddles, so you can actually buy optional extras to put the paddles on and play the pinball.
Wouldn't actually take that much because I installed the side paddles on my arcade machine. It's just simple enough.
Yeah, exactly. So at games do that in the US, you actually get the buttons with it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So not only is it cheaper, you get
right,
you also get the buttons.
Yeah,
so you're very lucky in the US. I mean, there's import. There's all the costs and everything that they have to do to import, and I've got to say. The company that I use, very good support, because I have had an issue that when we moved house, I plugged the wrong power supply into it, and it blew the main board. So I got a main board pretty quickly from their support. So I've got to say that they were good.
So just loading up a game, and we'll show some of these like nice and close up again. So I've just selected a random one. The first thing it does, and this is the thing that I noticed on mine, you have to download certain software, which we'll probably go through when I'm on my build. You have to download software to emulate these particular games, and then you've got to get the ROMs, which obviously you've got to own. Obviously, these are licensed, so. But what I did notice is when you clicked on that, the first thing it does is it's showing you all the controls.
Yeah.
So the difference between this and a homemade one is that you have to go away and then actually program and map them in. So how many games? 220?
No, there's about 250 games.
250 games. So 250 games, even on your own homemade, you're going to have to spend time mapping them out. So this is already pre-mapped.
Yeah.
So that's great. So straight away you're on a winner. So you're spending a little bit more cash in some theories, and we will go through the pricing when I go through my build. Sometimes actually can be costs as the same.
Yeah.
Depending on what you do.
And if you're not willing to collect the ROMs or buy the ROMs or whatever, it's because that is time consuming, and it can be and they're not going to work. So the games that they've actually chosen for this are very much, they've made sure that they do perform.
They're guaranteed to work with the hardware.
Yeah, they're not going to slow down. There's not going to be any glitches. And out of all the games, I've not seen any glitches at all. They're not all arcade games because they've licensed. What's weird about it, the Star Wars games on here are licensed from the Sega. So the Sega Mega Drive version, that's what they've chosen to license on here, which is slightly strange. So certainly, So I found that strange. And there's some there's Aladdin. So there's these games on here that have come from the Mega Drive. So they're not just purely arcade games. And there's some Atari 2800 games on here as well.
So I mean, yeah, you can. All the buttons are mapped already. And again, they've done this. They've. This is what I like about these sort of models because they've actually spent time mapping the keys in there because they're labelled up, but unless you map these keys onto the, I assume there'll be a USB interface in there somewhere, and then onto the software, you're gonna have to spend time mapping them all. So it's all already in there. I presume it's A for select or P1, Middle East. So straight away, I can just play the games. I mean, get a self build. You can't do that. You have to go in, map all the keys, make sure it's all right. I mean, it just works, doesn't it? So
and it comes. And the sound. So the front panel, you've got the players. Now it's got HDMI in. Now that's basically you can stream get games to it. So you can actually. So it's actually got an app built in to stream Steam games. So you can. So if you're on Steam, you can stream them straight to here. Does actually map them to this.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, a lot of the games it does map. So I have tried that. It's got 2 USB ins. One of them, obviously I can boot up in CoinOpX with it's got about 20,000 ROMs on there. I tend not to use it so much, and we will concentrate on CoinOpX because the interface is you try and scroll through 20,000 games. It's hard. So it's can be nigh impossible. So you can spend ages just scrolling through games before even picking one. So you've got that. You've got the power on and off, and then at this side you've got it does have sound. Obviously, don't know how it's going to pick it up on here, but if we, for argument's sake, let's choose go into asteroids.
Yeah, I'll just do that and see what you think.
So obviously, now asteroids probably doesn't have much sound, does it? So you have to insert a coin, which is exactly the same as you would.
Again, that's already been set up. That's already been done for you.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to map the keys in and you have to set it up correctly.
Yeah. When I can remember how to do it.
So you've got one coin in there already?
Good question. Now I should already know how to do this.
Obviously, it's all been set up for you, but if you don't know what you do.
Yeah. Push start.
Yeah, I'll pick up fine.
Yeah. So I mean, this is. I mean, so it does vector. So the vector games are good. So this is again licensed straight from Atari, and obviously you've got what they've done is there, which is great. Is they've got the because it's a widescreen 1080p screen that's in here. They've obviously chosen to put the borders at either side. And so so basically it keeps the aspect ratio. It's not stretching it.
What I do like about this is I noticed that you haven't just got the 2600 Atari. You've also got in some cases like this Asteroids. You've also got the arcade version as well, which I noticed.
Yeah, it has. It's also got. To come out of this,
I think you probably just get it down from there. So I think, well, I mean, I'm looking at sort of. There you go. So actually quite good speakers then. I'm sure microphones picked that up. Probably fine actually, me holding that up there. It might have actually been quite loud. But, so you've got speakers inbuilt, but you've got connectors, USBs, like you say, HDMI. Does it have Bluetooth?
Yes, it does have Bluetooth.
It does.
So it's got Bluetooth. So it's got Wi-Fi. So it's also got Ethernet. It does have Bluetooth. So you can actually have set light guns on this. So there's games on here. Operation Wolf and things, so you can use light gun on this, which I've not tried actually. But yeah, so it's set up pretty decent. So the menu is really good actually. So you can either scroll down all the games like that, or you can just do it from the menu here. And then as you got, obviously settings is absolutely low. So again, you can get a board to have quad play. So you can have 4 players.
So you can change out.
So
you
can actually change the board, and it comes out here. So it does do that. You can plug normal game pads into it. So again, because it's got Sega Mega Drive games in there, if you choose to want to be really authentic. But to be honest, I've never found an issue with not using these at all.
No, I think you've got enough controls here to probably cover most games.
Yeah. If you've got 2 of these, you can do wireless pairing. So if you've got one in another room, and that you can actually play 2-player games in separate rooms as well. So it's got and it's got a lot of so it's got interactive chat online. It's got a lobby for saving your high scores, sharing your high scores with other people. So what you do is you create an account, so you can go into their store as well and download games and play additional games on there as well.
And again, if you're rolling your own, you don't get that sort of level of integration. You're going to have a list of emulators, list of ROMs that you've got in there. Yeah. Probably a nice menu system depending how you set it up. But what I would say is, when you were showing one of the games, say like for instance, for like Asteroids, obviously you've got the aspect ratio, so it puts a nice band around it. If you don't get that set up right, the assets they're not the right ratio for the resolution that you've got. So there's so much you've got to do to set these things up. Just be able to go into a store or effectively buying online. It's an attractive thing. Yeah,
so it's like I said, the games on here you've got like I say you've got. So and I'm sure, let's just see if I think this uses the trackpad, the trackball.
So like loading time is pretty quick. Yeah.
So straight away it's mapped. So you've got a choice of using that, even using that, but you wouldn't use.
No, but the thing is, if I were to depending on what the kits you can get, so the kits out there are generally ones that are pre-drilled. You can get ones where the panels are not drilled and you just drill in to put it in. But if you don't do it that way, a lot of them are pre-drilled. It makes it easier, and they're generally speaking. But to be able to get trackball in there, you're going to have to buy the trackball, you're going to have to integrate it, you're going to have to assign it what it is and everything else. Whereas it's just I keep honestly sort of repeating the same thing, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's never, but so over the 3 years, it's never broke. Scott, you will go around the surface, because I'm not specifically polished this up for this session, so we'll show you if there's where the scuff marks is. Where there might be little after 3 years worth of use. Again, it's not just me who's being careful. We've had kids playing on this. You can actually so Art Games also do a pixel aid, so you can actually change the marquee.
So you can change that to a screen.
Yeah, to a screen. So basically, whatever game you're playing will show up on there, and they're really good. That's probably, I would like to get one of them, and if I do, we'll look at. I'll review how to install that. Now the build were pretty easy. And what we'll do is we'll show the build, quick sort of summary of how I built this at the end of this.
Yeah, we'll pop it in the video. In fact, we'll just show it now.
Yep. So here we are. It's arrived. Ordered it Sunday night, and we're now Friday, and it's arrived from Liberty Games. So thank you to them. Great communication in the UK. And this is the At Games Ultimate Arcade cabinet. So today I'm just going to unbox it, put it together. So I've just taken the top layer off, and it's very neatly packed, very tightly packed. So we're now going to get it out of the box, and I'll show you what pieces that are available that need to be assembled. You've got 4 pieces for the back and front for the supports. You've got the sides, you've got a piece there, and obviously you've got the front and the back of the cabinet, and then the control, and then the screen. So yeah, it's not going to be bad, but the proof is in the assembly.
And so that's the sort of like a sort of synopsis of the build. So fairly easy, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's a straightforward. If you put together furniture, you're almost like, it's easy enough to do. And a bit like mine, you've got the cabinet that sits on top of the main sort of chassis. So this cabinet here, round about here, it just basically lifts off. I assume that just stays
Yeah,
in
it is.
place.
So the
So
controller
it's this bit here.
So the controller here has the main board.
Yeah.
So the main processor and everything is in here. So this unit
all in
comes
there.
off, and then you've got the cables that attach to the speakers.
So is it a case
to
of
the
just
monitor.
attaching the cables to the
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, we will go through it, but you know, on a build of your own, you have to get to the back of the unit, open a door, plug it all in. I mean, I saved some time by getting. In fact, you donated a all-in-one PC to me.
Yeah.
So it's all in one. So once you've bolted the screen to the back, then you're okay. But again, you know, it's what you prefer. Do you want something that you can just set up, crack on with it, but then get a USB expansion?
Yeah.
And we will show that, where you can load up a completely different emulator environment and just play other games and have different access to different ROMs. Or do you want to do the DIY? DIY is fun. Don't get me wrong. It is fun, but it's a long process.
Yeah. So it has it's got a lot of good selection of games. You know, so we the games that are in here. So it's got a lot of old 80s games. It's got Mega Drive games. Like I say, it's got Star Wars in there, but it is the Mega Drive versions. Lion King and things like that. But it's there's some good games, and Bubble Bobble, the arcade version of Bubble Bobble on there. Now that is an absolutely brilliant 2-player game, and I will show you us playing that now. That's Bubble Bobble. So, like you say, so you got Combat. So that's an Atari 2600, not 2800. I've been saying 2800. It's 2600.
26. Yeah.
Everyone's going, what's 2800?
It's the new Atari console. Did you not know?
Yeah. So Combat. So we played that for years, didn't we? So it's got all them, but it has got a lot of. It's got Donkey Kong on here. Now the only thing it didn't have was one of my favourite games, Pac-Man. And that's why I explored Coin Up X.
Should we do that then? Should we just bounce that up now?
Let's bounce up Coin Up X. So basically, and now we'll put a link into the description of Coin Up X, which will take you to a site on how to do this. But these videos out there of people setting up Coin Up X on Legends Ultimate, well, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is sort of just take you through sort of the experience, how it works. You can have it boot up into Coin Up X. I tend not to do that because you sort of then lose
what's being put in
there. So I tend to as a choice really. So basically, it's a small thumb drive. You put it into one of the 2 USB sockets, and it's in there. So I would, if you're going to do this, recommend. And if you're going to let other people play in it, have a really small one. Try not to put a large USB drive in. Can actually put a hard drive in there, but you obviously wouldn't need one. But you can do that if you want millions.
And that's the thing. If you go to specific places online, and again, that's down to you to make sure that you have copies of all these ROMs. People like to not have to fire up an old arcade machine with all the cartridges and swap them out. So a lot of people go, look, I've owned it. It's in the loft with my other plethora collection of retro stuff or in display. So you can download them, or you can go onto certain places and buy a hard drive. Yeah. In fact, we've got another episode where we're going to talk about what you can buy out there and how they look. Legitimate or not is another story. We're not going to go through the hows and whys. What we're going to do is what's available out there. There are some out there with 4 or 5 terabytes with millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of games and emulators.
And a lot of them are widely available on Amazon to buy as well, which I find really strange. how we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think our friend who owns Amazon is probably just going, it's profit, If anyone complains, but who's going to complain about getting access to loads of games for the price of a hard drive and a little bit extra? Yeah.
So the expandability of this is good, which again, it's another reason why I bought this. So there's different add-ons. But the add-on X is where you set up the USB drives and have it and basically go in there. So you've got different builds of how you do your add-on X. But basically, CoinUp-X is it's this team of people that's basically built a specific build for the Elite Legends Ultimate. So you're not having to go in and tailor it to this. Again, it's mapped. So
so this is. I mean, you could download it and put it on some other hardware, but this is specifically for this machine.
Yeah.
So again, you're not having to try to remap your procured hard drive from Amazon or wherever else. There are other places out there. We will talk about.
So you can have it starting on boot up, but you can launch it from the menu, which I do. Like I said, it's probably got about 20,000 games on. It did, when I looked at it, took about 3-4 hours to set up in total. So you have to do it on a PC. First get it, download it, and you obviously prepare your USB drive and put it on there, and obviously pop it in here.
So in terms of like this now, you've got 20,000 plus games on here. How does the controls work compared to the build that they've put in the machines?
Mostly work. Now, you don't. I've not found any that work with that, but everything else seems mapped.
Generally works. Yeah.
It seems mapped. Of course, I've not tried 20,000 games, but as you see, the menu system's totally different, and trying to. There you go. So the one thing that you can do with this actually, which goes back to the Retro Games Limited, with the Spectrum where you can rewind games, you can do exactly the same with this as well. So me pressing back, you can save, load, and rewind games by. I think it's.
I'm looking forward to trying that feature actually.
So you can do that, but did I play a game? Did I start a game?
You did.
What game? 005.
005. 4 times the challenge.
Right, okay. Didn't really want to play that game, but there you go. But again, exactly the same system. Press that to come out and quit the game. Exactly the same as you
So
would.
you're getting the same menu options because it's been made for this this cabinet. I mean, you're almost convincing me if I went down the route of getting another arcade machine, probably going for a pre-built. I enjoyed the experience of building one, but...
Obviously, 20,000 games, it's hard to say. It does have a carousel system. It shows, the good thing is what I like about this, and I think it even does so it actually does a preview of the game before you load it up. So again, let's turn the sound up. So as you can preview games, so this is Millie Migler. 1942.
1942, one of my favourites.
Again, so for people that don't know the games, it's great. You can get a complete preview. 1943. I do remember playing 1943 quite a bit because the graphics were much more improved.
Well, this is one of the games that used to sit up next door to Greg's before it was called Greg's. Thurston's. And it was a little shop. And up at the top, the guy had put in a little room. He had about 3 or 4 arcade machines, and 1943 was one of them.
Yeah.
And we used to just go there, get a pasty, go upstairs, and literally just play on these arcade machines. And this was after really it came out.
Now, you can scroll to the left, and you can you can go on Williams Classics. So it does group them. So you've got Williams Classics, Taito Classics. So then all you're doing then is scrolling down the carousel. It's knowing with the Taito Williams or I think that's a thing. 6 or Sega.
I mean, looking at this machine, one thing I would like to have seen on this, because obviously you turn it up and down, it's not the swiftest that are turning up and down. I would like to have seen a mute on this.
Yeah.
Because if for whatever reason you're playing a game, you want to get it right down there. So Afterburner, So, in terms of some of these emulators, have you seen any slowdown or any lag?
I've not actually. The only ones it seems to do is things like, so when it goes on to some of the Alien games, Yeah, because obviously it's because it's obviously 3D. It slows. Well, you can see. I mean, obviously this is the preview. It does slow a little bit, a little jitter, but you don't take it away from the gameplay. You don't notice it too much. But no, not too much. Things like obviously these all work. All the platform games, shooting games, Alter Beast.
You've got Sega, you've got Nintendo.
Yeah.
What other sort of do you have any?
Well, actually, it says Sega, but it's actually Sega. These are Sega Arcade,
Okay.
not the Mega
So
Drive.
these are right. Okay.
Yeah, so on the Coin Up X, they are.
Yeah.
Although I should imagine
There was a bit of a mix, wasn't there?
Yeah, although I think there's a mix on here because and again, because you're scrolling down, it can take a while. But if I go to, because everyone straight away writes Sega, everyone's favourite game on Sega is Sonic.
So I can see there it's starting to speed up a bit on this search.
So Outrun, again, one of my favourite games. So it's got Outrun on there. That works perfectly actually on this. Again, it's the arcade version. But if I go down and our favourite Sonic is on there, although not Sonic the Hedgehog, not that it is just it's just got one on there.
One of them.
So again, I'm not sure if this is the arcade version. So it's not just full of Nintendo.
So you're gonna get sometimes you might get a Sonic game, but it might not be the Sonic game that you remember, like the original sort of thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure this is the arcade. Yeah,
So what other builds you have there then? So in terms of machines that you can emulate on this particular version.
So on this particular version, I've seen it emulated. So it's obviously Nintendo. It's Sega Mega Drive, Nintendo Master System, the 16-bit Nintendo, and I think that's it really. And obviously the 2600 is on there, but I've not really gone into seeing any. I've not seen any others.
I mean, you got Nintendo Classic straight onto Donkey Kong there, aren't you? And then another version of Donkey Kong. So, right, okay. So you've actually got two versions there. You've got Japanese and the original, and then Donkey Kong 2 Junior. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, can you?
No, exactly. And again, exactly, it plays the games exactly the same.
Right. So you got Neo Geo on this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, SNK. Well, so Neo Geo did make arcade games, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
So obviously Neo Geo,
that was the posh kids version, really, of a console, because you got the exact copy of the arcade game on your console. That's probably the only console really that we're able to
and
play.
that's it. So SNK. So there you go. So there's all your Neo Geo. Namco classics, which I always go to Namco because I think they made some of the best arcade games, and Midway classics again. So you've got some fairly decent games on there, and I would say probably going up to 1991, 92, maybe 93. I've not seen a lot past there, so I've not seen obviously arcade machines.
It hasn't got the PlayStation on there.
No, it's not, and I don't think it can.
No,
I've not tried it, but I'm not sure that the processor that's in there would probably be able to take that. But it's worth somebody trying if they can. It'd be good to see actually if anyone's done that.
So there, you got an option for your last played as well, because I mean, there's so many games in there. That's a great feature. That I love that, because you can at least get back to what you played before.
Yeah.
Which we may be using for the close-ups.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean that's great. So okay.
Yeah. So I mean the good thing is about this, it's there, it's in there. However, Coin Up X, they do update their image quite often, I would say. So I'm probably a fair few versions behind. So they do keep adding games, and they do keep tweaking the performance. You can change the menu system on later versions, so you can do that. So again, it's well worth it, and it's really great fun having sort of the 2-player on here as well. Certainly in fighting games, it works pretty good as well.
Yeah, so you got your categories there, haven't you? Of like 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. Laserdisc.
Yeah, definitely Laserdisc. Now I've not heard of them, so if anyone had one of them.
So Laserdisc one. I mean, are they weren't they some of the was it Dragon's Lair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Dragon's Lair
think
was, I
yeah,
suppose,
well, I want
the
it, yeah,
famous
yeah,
one, where you had to just press the button at the right
yeah,
time on the animation to
yeah,
actually go somewhere. I remember drowning a lot of coins in that one.
yeah,
I mean, you've got loads on there, haven't you?
yeah,
So you've got what's built into
yeah.
the machine. Then you've got the build, which took you a few hours to set up, but
Yeah,
once it's
but
done,
once it's done, it's done.
working with it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
they've procured the right
yeah.
ones.
And I think the expandability is good. So you're buying a machine with the games in if you don't want to. However, the choice is there for you to expand it yourself.
So you were talking
those that
about
want
light
to.
guns.
Yeah,
So you got the light gun games as
Yeah.
well on there. So they're separate. That's great. That's fantastic. So if you were to remove this from your house right now, would you go back to getting a pre-built, or would you have a go at building one?
no, I like this, and would I make a better build myself? Probably not. I'm not sure I would. The only reason I'd do a pre-built one because I could put a more powerful PC in there and I could emulate absolutely anything. But would I want it in an arcade cabinet? That's the thing. So I do have Batasera on a mini PC for PlayStation 1 games and PSP. Would I want to play on there? Yeah, it'd probably be novelty, but I'd still like because
The idea of sitting at your
and
desk and doing it.
And to be honest, I don't play them as much as I would these. Because there's something said for, there's 20,000 games, obviously, but even the 250, I ain't got bored of 250 games.
No. You'll always find something that you've not probably played for about 30 years plus. 30 years. That's why we're retro, by the way. I mean, it's fantastic.
I did try it. Now, what's funny is I have because in certain countries and regions the games were called something different.
Yeah.
So on Coin Up Pecs, I've been looking for some of the games that we used to play when we were younger. We used to be in Spain a lot. So things like Fortress with the vector graphics, that doesn't seem to be on there. There were a digging game.
There was some,
and I can't remember of it, and it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
But obviously, but I've noticed in different regions. Is that Fortress? No, it's not Fortress, but
it looks like Fortress.
It does look like Fortress, but it's not. But yeah, I love it. I can, waste hours on this if I wanted to. But it's great when people do come. When it was in the living room, people coming round, it was great for people to go on and that. It was. I'm sure. Is this? It looks like it to me, but I'm not sure.
It looks similar to what we used to play, but it wasn't quite the same. It didn't float around. It was like you had to just sort of shoot pieces from it.
But yeah, I do like it. Like I say, it's wireless and Ethernet, and again, you can stream your.
So
Steam
out
games.
of 10 in terms of the build, what would you say?
Out of the build, out of 10, I would say. I would say 8 out of 10. The only reason that is I think they probably could have done slightly better with the finishings on the side, because this is plastic, not metal. The metal, the chrome bits.
Yeah, I can tell you a reason for that, because they're easier to bend round and knock into the unit.
So there's that, and they're easily scuffed, and that's the same here. But I mean, that's not. I mean, people have put drinks and I've told even though when I've spotted it, I'll get it off. But and it works well. So I would say 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10
for the build. Yeah.
So in terms of sort of playability,
I think 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because it just works.
It
no
just
mapping.
works. Yeah. And it would be 10 out of 10. I think. It depends on the choice of games, obviously, and I think it depends on the person. Really.
But that goes back to they've chosen the right games for whatever hardware's running in this.
This is a 1080p. Now they have brought out a 4K version.
Would you need a 4K?
Well, they've actually changed the games on it, so they've actually
upscaled them.
So they've upscaled them, and also there's a better processor in it. So I should imagine. Now with Coin Up Pecs and the other, if you noticed on the menu system, there were other add-ons. another that you could probably put other emulations in there. But so I've got the 1080p now. There were at games were going to bring out an option for you to buy the board and put it in here. Obviously, you wouldn't get because the screen isn't 4K. On here it's not 4K, but you would get the processor to play the games. But again, would you need 4K? You probably wouldn't need 4K.
It's an odd one, really, isn't it? Where you need to go over full HD. But comment below if you think that something like that needs a 4K display. So in terms of like playability, you get a really high score. So overall, if this was just handed to you today, or you handed a kit and said go play, and we'll give you all the kit that you need, what would you give this out of 10?
I mean, this
Overall,
I would say 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. That's good. I like that. We will show you some. We will show you some close-ups, so you get to have a good look at the chassis. There's some, and again, we will show you some beautiful artwork on the side. You can't go wrong with some artwork. I'm guessing they licensed that artwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will show you the below bit where you've got some logos of games and things. Currently holding our coffee from falling over. So, sounds like a decent machine, price-wise.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the UK, so that we sort of
we suffer.
We do suffer a bit, but certainly in the US, it is definitely worth picking.
So, what sort of price would you be looking at the moment for one of these?
I think at the moment I've seen that about 700. I think it's the 4K version now, so I think they're about £800, £800.
And you get all the games included and everything ready to go. Yeah. Fire it up, and then you can decide to get yourself a cheeky little USB and get a few 100,000 or millions of games on there if you so decide. Well, that's it for the arcade machine, and we'll move on.
Go through some questions.
Let's go through some questions.
Okay, so we've got some questions. Obviously, people have written in or private chatted. We will actually look at posting up how to contact us, maybe an email as well if people want to prefer email as well.
Some people have been very enterprising and managed to contact us anyway, which is I won't go through how and why, but yeah, we will put that on there. It's early days for the return, but we'll put an email address on there.
So the first question, a very short one. Some just put why retro, because in their questions sort of mention that you say retro, but yet we do talk
about AI. We talk about
Google and Microsoft,
and
and we've said it in other videos. It's where retro, as in.
We've got a few grey hairs here and there. I've probably got more than you.
So it's more on us being retro than the content. Now, it is going to lean towards that because obviously we've got 40 odd years worth of playing computers, arcade games, arcade machines, as jobs over the years and things. So primarily it is retro, but and it's not just retro tech, because we've run out of time. Going to obviously look at reviewing the latest Alien movie as well. And whilst it's a new movie, where it sits, it is very much sits between Alien 1 and 2. So to me, let's talk about that because it's the 8.
I mean, we could still do.
So we might do that. So we are looking at doing reviews, and again, we're going to review retro films as well, or films that have really been part of our lives.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. Why retro? Because we are retro. We are of a generation. Why show old tech? Because we love it. That's all. This is us, you know. So if someone's doing something about their cars, they're probably going to show cars from like the 80s, 90s, and that sort of thing. There's things that they love. So, but why do we talk about new stuff when we're retro? Because we work in that industry and we like talking about anything technical, and that's what's in the description, really. But I know that sometimes confuses people. There are people out there who call themselves retro something. And they are literally just talking about retro games and consoles and everything else, hardware. That's great. But we like talking about everything else. So we want to talk about current things that are happening in the technical world. But we want to talk about the stuff we love, like this beautiful machine here. And we'll send a link in there. So if you do fancy having a look at one of these,
we do. We do things slightly differently as well. So you know, a lot of obviously YouTube channels out there do nothing but reviews, and they're doing reviews and stuff, and they're really great at doing it. Now, we probably feel awkward. So we're not. You have to be engaging, and that the reason why we did this, and we talked about it in the return in 2 episodes back. Actually, if you want to watch,
check it up on there,
because it's all about us. We used to we used to go and meet for breakfast or after the gym and sit there. Now we talk about is what we talk about on these episodes.
Like Busman's holiday in it almost. Yeah. We talk about IT, we talk about computers, we talk about technical stuff, we talk about movies, music, and all that.
Yeah, we're just gonna not go corporate.
No, we're not gonna go corporate.
Yeah, so we try and keep everything consumer driven where we can. Because that interest, people do corporate.
If it touches on sort of a personal life, so like we will talk about local home labs and local storage and stuff like that. Now, some people will be going, not really interested in that sort of thing because I'm a consumer, like you say. But we like to touch on the sort of more technical stuff as well. We may sort of branch off to some technical episodes occasionally. We might talk about Linux again. We have talked about Linux before. But we don't want to get too deep into that. We're here to just hopefully entertain people, talk about stuff that we love, and hopefully
entertain ourselves in this. So obviously visiting. So obviously we're going to go start looking around what's in the UK for museums, places to go, shows. So we will be visiting them and filming as much as we're allowed to or can. So again, whether they're going to be shorts or part of an episode or a full episode. And they'll be there. And as you know, we're visiting some recently. Not recently. We will be visiting some
very soon
in the not too distant future. So yeah, that's why
we're retro. Yeah. So we had another question actually, and this wonderful Fire tablet decided to lock itself. So there you go. Can you do more game reviews? And if so, what games would you like? So it's kind of a two question. So do we want to look at game reviews?
We are doing that. We do have some planned coming up. So the Spectrum next, because we bought some games recently, or I have.
We did show you in an episode, yeah.
So we will be looking at some of the games. So we've done an opening up of a particular game. We're actually going to show that game. We will be doing Where the Exploding Fist as well. And a couple of the other games on just for the Spectrum next, so there will be some coming up there as we get our Retro Games Limited Spectrum in November.
That's going to be hardware and game review.
Yeah, so that's going to be hardware and game review, and we may look at reviewing our top 3 Spectrum games.
Yeah,
and we'll do that. And it won't be top 3 Spectrum games because the popularity, but because of
we love it.
We loved it. So our memories. Now I've watched them recently, and I was enthralled because it took up a lot of our lives. Elite, now Elite were made. There's a brilliant YouTube video out there of that, and so we're probably not going to do Elite because it's been done. But that would definitely have been up there.
I'll put the link below. Yeah. It's a video about how technically they were able to effectively do an offline MMO style game
in 32K.
In 32K. So yeah, I'll post that below.
Yes, that's a
kudos to that video because it's an amazing one.
Yeah.
It's a bit technical, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a good video. So it'll be what games affected in our lives. So it'll be things like we've talked about School Days, which is on on the Spectrum that is coming out in November. So we will definitely do reviews on that. And again, sending you suggestions. If there's games that you want us to review, if you want our thoughts, we can certainly review it because we'll take a slightly different slant.
We're here to look at anything like that, gaming, IT, technical stuff. It's just all there, even media. So we're talking about movies, anything media. It's anything we can watch on a screen, anything like that.
Even music as well. Because obviously, as people know, and just to remind you, we do have a Retro Brothers EP out there. It's been out for a while. We've
check it out on Spotify.
Yeah, so it's on Spotify, iTunes, and all the various digital music channels. We do want to do a follow-up, and we will be asking for your input on that. Yeah, so we will be.
And we may do and I think this might be a good idea, and I'm just dropping it onto you now. We may do a tour of your studio setup.
Do that.
Because I'll be honest with you, he's got an amazing setup for doing music. I'm not the musical one. You are the musical one.
Yeah, we can do that. It's a shame I can't, and we might even do one on how to make music on the BBC Micro as well, because I do have a very old sort of MIDI sort of sequencer, and I know I think some people have done this, and I even think up to a few years ago, even Vince Clarke from Erasure even still uses the BBC, or did, certainly very recent. I did see a thing on that, so that
might be something to look at.
So that
we've got so much.
To look at. So there is a lot. So games, anything, and obviously why retro.
And again, suggestions. We don't get a lot of comments at the moment. We get thumbs up and great guys and everything else. We're a growing channel. We want to just show more and more stuff. We want to show old games, new games, talk about new stuff, old stuff. If there's anything specific you want us to just chat about, do you want us to change the way we do things? Do you want us to be sat with nice big microphones in front of each other doing like podcasts facing each other all the time? Does this work? Stick your comments in there. And if you've got this far, I would like you to like and subscribe.
As always.
Notification button as well to make sure you get notifications. We're going to try to keep carrying on just sort of a weekly, semi-weekly, bi-weekly sort of thing. We're just going to carry on just posting them out there. Would you prefer us to just have a schedule? Some people do, some people don't really care. And there you go. So that's the questions. Please post your questions, put them in the description. I'll make sure that the email is on the contact info, if not already. How they got our info, I can think of a different couple of ways. Don't forget, we do have our podcasts on Spotify and iTunes and a few other platforms, so we're posting via Spotify. If you want to listen to our podcasts, feel free to do it on iTunes, just bearing in mind that some of it is visual. And we're trying our best to try to make sure that we do have a good audio session on there as well.
So if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, sort of try and again, it may be worth then maybe watching the
older ones.
The older ones as well. So they are good. And again, we try to not make it too visual that you can't watch it.
This one's going to be visual, unfortunately. That's just the way it is, but obviously you'll still get sort of an indication of how good this is, even listening on audio. Luckily, I think Spotify now is showing our videos on the newer ones. So when I upload the video, I used to strip out the audio, and it was just audio only. Is that why
people are crashing the cars?
Watching our show. Great that you did, and you do, if you do that, because we want the viewers. But please don't drive and watch our at the same time, because I don't want to be on the news. I was watching a podcast called Retro Brothers and I decided to, let's not go down that road. But thank you as always, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.